What is a social problem? Well, there are the general factors that affect and damage society. A social problem is normally a term used to describe problems with a particular area or group of people in the world. Social problems often involve problems that affect real life. It also affects how people react to certain situations. Air and water pollution. What is it? It is the introduction of contaminants into the natural environment that cause adverse change. Pollution can take the form of chemical substances or energy, such as noise, heat, or light. Why is it a problem? It is a problem because it can cause damage to animals, trees, plants, crops, and water sources in the environment. Pollution in the air causes problems for aviation because it reduces visibility, while also being responsible for damaging buildings and other structures. There are some real cases of pollution. An example of air pollution here in Mexico is in Mexico City, because it is a city surrounded by a lot of big companies that produce a lot of industrial air pollution. When various industries produce their product, they emit a number of harmful particles into the air. They usually include sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, and hydrocarbons. Each, each substance, alone or otherwise, can be detrimental to human health, especially if they are released in substantial quantities. These health problems tend to be mainly found in developing countries that have weak systems to prevent the release of air pollution. The second example of a pollution accident is the Gulf of Mexico oil spill on April 20, 2010. The Deepwater Horizon offshore oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico exploded, killing 11 workers and leading to the worst oil spill and environmental catastrophe in the U.S. history. Well, how can we solve this problem? We can do the following tips, like making sustainable transportation choices, using public transportation, and making sustainable food choices, making sustainable energy choices, and recycle everything you can. Unemployment. What is it? It is a phenomenon that occurs when a person who is actively searching for employment is unable to find work. It is often used as a measure of the health of the economy. Why is it a problem? Because it can create losses of income, increases in expenditures, and societal problems that negatively affect individuals and society as a whole. How it affects our society. Unemployment affects not just the person himself, but also his or her family, and in the long run, the society where he lives. Unemployment brings with it despair, unhappiness, and anguish. It forces people to live their lives in a way they do not wish to, and the life expectancy is negatively affected. How can we solve it? Raising the wage of the employees whose pay is low encourages many people to take any type of job. On the other hand, reducing the wage of the lowly paid employees raises the rate of unemployment. An example of unemployment is when Trump closed American companies here in Mexico, which provoked that many people lost their job.
What is bullying? Some consider bullying to be purposeful attempts to control person through a verbal abuse, which can be in tone of voice or in content such as teasing or threats, exclusion, physical bullying or violence, which the victim doesn't want. In a culture that is fascinated with winning power and violence, Some experts suggest that it's unrealistic to expect that people will not be influenced to seek power through violence in their own lives. Two of the best solutions to stop bullying is if you're being bullied, tell them to stop. Get away from the situation and tell a trusted adult. And the other one is if you see someone being bullied, be an upstander. Tell the person to stop.
An example of bullying in Mexico is the case of Hector Alejandro Mendez. As the last class was finishing at a school in northeast Mexico, the four pupils grabbed 12-year-old Hector Alejandro Mendez by his arms and legs and swung him, banging his head against the wall. Mendez, who friends called Minnie, made it home, where he told his mother about the assault before losing consciousness. He died after a week in the hospital. The injuries caused fatal bleeding in his brain. What is poverty? Poverty is about not having enough money to meet basic needs including food, clothing, and shelter. However, poverty is much more than just not having enough money. In addition to a lack of money, poverty is about not being able to participate in recreational activities, not being able to send children on a day trip with their schoolmates or to a birthday party, not being able to pay for medications for an illness. These are all causes of being poor. Those people who are barely able to pay for food and shelter simply can consider these other expenses. When people are excluded between a society, when they are not well educated, and when they have a higher incidence of illness, there are negative consequences for society. We all pay the price for poverty. The increased cost on the health system, the justice system, and other systems that provide supports to those living in poverty has an impact on our economy. While much progress has been made measuring and analyzing poverty, the World Bank organization is doing more work to identify indicators for the other dimensions of poverty. This work includes identifying social indicators to track education, health, access to service, vulnerability, and social exclusion. There is no one cause of poverty, and the results of it are different in every case. Poverty varies considerably depending on the situation. Feeling poor in Canada is different from living in poor in Russia or Zimbabwe. The difference between rich and poor between the borders of a country can also be great. Despite the many definitions, one thing is certain. Poverty is a complex societal issue. No matter how poverty is defined, it can be agreed that is an issue that requires everyone's attention. It is important that all members of our society work together to provide opportunities for all our members to reach their full potential. It helps all of us to help one another. There are some facts about poverty in Mexico. Around half of the population lives in poverty. About 10% of people live in extreme poverty. More than 20 million children live in poverty, with more than 5 million living in extreme poverty. Chiapas, Guerrero, and Puebla are the states with the highest levels of poverty. That it's because the average salary in rural areas is 3 to 4 times less than that of urban areas in Mexico.
Illegal drugs aren't good for anyone, but they are pretty bad for a kid or a teen whose body is still growing. Illegal drugs can damage the brain, heart, and other important organs. Cocaine, for instance, can cause a heart attack even in a kid or a teen. While using drugs, people are also less able to do well in school, sports, and other activities. It's often harder to think clearly and make good decisions. When they use drugs, people can do dumb or dangerous things that could hurt them or other people. Solutions for drug addiction. First of all, you need help. Tell your parents about your problem. They can help you a lot. Then search a support group. You can do this all alone. And finally, just say no when someone offers you drugs.